Have you ever overheard adults whispering anxiously about World War III? Maybe you've caught fragments of their conversations, or seen the worry in their eyes when the news comes on. It's a topic that can feel distant, almost like something out of a dramatic movie or a history book, but for many people around the world, it's a real and pressing concern that lingers in the background of daily life. The idea of another world war is unsettling. It's not just a story, it's a possibility that makes people everywhere uneasy. When you see people glued to the news or hear them talking in hushed tones, it's because the thought of a conflict on such a massive scale is truly frightening. Imagine a war even bigger and more dangerous than any before, with technology and weapons that could reach across continents. The devastation could be unimaginable, affecting millions of lives, cities, and even the environment itself. But here's something important. Understanding these fears and where they come from is the first step to making sure such a tragedy never happens. When we learn about the causes and consequences of conflict, we become better equipped to prevent it. Our world has already endured 2 devastating world wars. These conflicts changed the course of history, destroyed entire cities, and brought unimaginable suffering to millions of people. The scars of those wars are still visible today, in memorials and stories passed down through families, and in the lessons we teach in schools. Today, we live in a world that's more connected than ever before. People, ideas, and information travel across the globe in seconds. This means that problems in one part of the world can quickly affect everyone, no matter where they live. A disagreement between powerful countries isn't just their problem anymore. Because of alliances and partnerships, a small conflict can quickly grow, pulling in many nations and turning a local issue into a global crisis. That's why peace, cooperation, and understanding between countries are more important than ever. International organizations and everyday people work hard to build bridges, solve problems peacefully, and prevent misunderstandings from turning into something much worse. We're not talking about these things to scare you. Instead, we want to help you understand why peace matters so much, and why it's everyone's responsibility to protect it, at home, in our communities, and around the world. When we know what's at stake, we can better appreciate the peace we enjoy every day, the simple moments of safety, laughter, and togetherness that we sometimes take for granted. It's a bit like learning the rules before you start driving. A little knowledge and preparation can keep everyone safer and help us avoid dangerous situations before they start. So let's explore this topic together. By understanding our world and the challenges it faces, we can all play a part in building a safer, more peaceful future for everyone. What is a world war? Imagine a playground argument that grows until everyone is involved. A world war is like that, but with countries instead of kids. It spreads across continents, pulling in nations everywhere. Countries form alliances, promises to protect each other. A small conflict can quickly grow as alliances are triggered. That's how both world wars started. Local fights became global disasters. In a world war, battles happen everywhere. Cities, oceans, deserts, even frozen lands. Every part of society is involved. Factories, money, scientists, and ordinary people. Daily life changes. Factories make tanks, food is rationed, and everyone is affected. News is filled with war updates, and the whole country is part of the effort. It's not just armies fighting, it's entire nations. That's what makes a world war so devastating. If a new world war started, who would be involved? It's a question that sparks both fear and curiosity, and the answer is far from simple. The world today is more interconnected than ever before, with countries linked by trade, technology, and shared interests, but also divided by old rivalries and new tensions. Predicting who would join a global conflict is complicated, but we can make some educated guesses by looking at the alliances, rivalries, and power structures that shape our world right now. Every nation has its own interests, and those interests often overlap or clash with others. Superpowers like the United States, China, and Russia have the most influence. Their military strength, economic power, and global reach mean that any conflict involving them would quickly draw in other nations, either as allies or adversaries. A conflict between these giants could force countries around the world to pick sides even if they'd rather stay out of it. Smaller nations might be pressured to join one camp or another, depending on their economic ties, security needs, or historical relationships. NATO is a major alliance. If one member is attacked, the others are bound by treaty to come to their defense. This means that a single spark could pull dozens of countries into the conflict almost overnight, especially across Europe and North America. On the other side, Russia and China might lead their own coalition, bringing together allies from Asia, the Middle East, or South America. These alliances could be formal, like military pacts, or informal, based on shared interests or opposition to Western influence. The world could quickly split into two main camps, with each side rallying support and resources. But the lines wouldn't always be clear. Some countries might switch sides, or try to play both ends against the middle. Some countries would try to stay neutral, like Switzerland, Sweden, or Austria, hoping to avoid the devastation of war. International organizations like the United Nations might work to mediate, but their influence could be limited in the chaos. Even neutral nations might find themselves under pressure economically, politically, or even militarily. Refugees could flood their borders, and their economies could be disrupted by sanctions or blockades. No one is truly untouched when the world is at war. Civilians everywhere would feel the impact, whether through rising prices, shortages, or the constant anxiety of an uncertain future. In the end, the alliances and divisions between nations would shape the entire conflict, determining not just who fights, but how the war unfolds, and ultimately, who pays the price. If World War III happened, the weapons would be unlike anything before. Drones, unmanned flying machines, can spy or attack from far away. Cyber attacks could shut down power, banks, or spread false information. Wars would be fought with computer code as much as with tanks and planes. Traditional weapons are now faster, smarter, and more precise. Hypersonic missiles and advanced jets make the battlefield more dangerous than ever. Artificial intelligence could control swarms of drones or make split-second decisions. There's even talk of weapons in space, satellites that can attack from above. The scariest weapons are nuclear, but new technologies are emerging all the time. Future wars would be fought on land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace all at once. The risks are higher than ever before. Imagine waking up one morning to a world completely changed by war. How would a world war alter the rhythm of daily life for ordinary people, even those far from the front lines? The impact would be enormous, touching every aspect of society. Even in cities untouched by bombs, the sense of normalcy would vanish. Streets that once bustled with life might become eerily quiet, as people stay indoors worried about safety and shortages. Food, fuel, and electricity could be strictly rationed. Families would have to make do with less, sharing small meals and stretching every resource. Grocery store shelves might be empty, and simple things like bread or milk could become precious. Schools might close their doors or move classes into underground shelters. Children would practice air raid drills, learning to hide and stay calm as sirens blare. Education would be interrupted and playtime replaced by lessons in survival. Parks and open spaces could be transformed into community gardens, as people grow their own food to supplement rations. At night, cities would go dark during blackouts, hiding from enemy planes and making the world feel even more uncertain. Families would live with constant anxiety, worrying about loved ones sent to fight or working long hours in war factories. Every goodbye at a train station would feel heavier, and every letter from the front would be treasured. News would be dominated by war updates, with headlines and broadcasts bringing both information and fear into every home. People would gather around radios, TVs, or phones, desperate for any word of hope or safety. The internet and media could become battlegrounds themselves, filled with propaganda and misinformation. Governments might censor news, controlling what people see and hear, making it hard to know what's really happening. Friendships and families separated by borders would struggle to stay connected. Travel restrictions and closed borders would make visits impossible, and even a simple video call could be filled with worry and longing. Life would be filled with new rules, curfews, checkpoints, and constant uncertainty. Every day would bring new challenges, and adapting would become a way of life. Invisible walls would rise between people, communities, and even nations. Trust would be tested, and the sense of unity could be replaced by suspicion and fear. Ordinary routines would disappear, replaced by a constant focus on survival and caution. In a world at war, every day would feel different, and the hope for peace would become more precious than ever. What happens after a world war ends? The damage lasts for generations. Cities could be left in ruins, and rebuilding would take years. The environment would suffer, polluted air, water, and land from bombs and chemicals. The climate might even change, making recovery harder. Economies would collapse, jobs would vanish, and poverty would spread. Money could become worthless, and trade would be disrupted everywhere. The deepest wounds would be emotional, distrust and fear between nations. Generations might grow up hating former enemies. The pain of loss and trauma would linger for a lifetime. Rebuilding trust and friendship would be the hardest task of all. The world would be sadder, poorer, and more divided. Nuclear weapons make the idea of a third world war terrifying. One bomb can destroy a city in seconds, leaving deadly radiation behind. Fallout can poison air, water and soil for miles, harming people far from the blast. If nuclear weapons are used, the result is mutual destruction. No one wins. Even a small nuclear war could block sunlight, cause famine, and change the climate. This is why world leaders work so hard to avoid nuclear conflict. The threat of nuclear weapons is a constant reminder to choose peace. Treaties and agreements try to limit these weapons, but the danger remains. The existence of nuclear arms has changed the world forever. We must always remember the risks and work to prevent their use. Peace is the only real protection against nuclear disaster. Despite the dangers, many people work every day to prevent world war. Diplomacy, using words not weapons, is the most important tool. Diplomats meet, negotiate, and find peaceful solutions to problems. The United Nations brings countries together to talk, vote, and solve global issues. Peacekeepers help keep warring groups apart and protect civilians. Treaties set rules to limit weapons and build trust between nations. These agreements help prevent small mistakes from turning into big wars. Ordinary people also play a role, learning about other cultures, making friends, and breaking down stereotypes. Student exchanges, sports, and travel build bridges of understanding. Every act of respect and kindness helps create a more peaceful world. Peace is built by leaders and by everyday people together. We all have a part to play in keeping the world safe. Learning about these dangers can feel overwhelming, but it's not hopeless. Understanding the risks gives us the power to prevent war. History shows we can learn, change, and choose peace. The future is unwritten, shaped by our actions every day. Young people have a special role. By being curious, kind, and fair, you help build peace. Standing up to bullying is practicing the same skills leaders need, solving problems with understanding. Our connected world gives us new ways to work together and protect our planet. Billions share the dream of a world without war. By choosing cooperation and friendship, we can keep World War III a story we never have to live through. The path to peace is hard, but it's a journey we must take, together.